Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and it's time to join me for a tour of CAX 2024 as it was seen on Saturday. So I'm going to give a walk around the show floor, starting to the right of the main entrance where you had Panic Park by Namco, a fairly rare game, I believe, and some kind of electromechanical game that I didn't spend too much time on. So they set up the Japanese rhythm game area here at the front. So you had the likes of Tunatham and DJ Max Technica 3, Sound Voltex, Beatmania 3. First Beatmania, maybe? Neon FM. Don't think too many of those are out there. Maybe 50, between 50 to 100. U-Beat. We got the couple of Atari games like Fire Truck and Canyon Bomber, but then Chicago Coin Speedway. Speedway actually sold very, very well back in its day. There was this gotcha there, but it was dead. It had kind of an Exidy / Midway row. So there was Bandido there, which was Exidy, I believe. But Boot Hill, Space Invaders were Midway, although Space Invaders technically Taito. Plenty of pinball machines, such as these Gottlieb machines, Targ, Video Pinball by Atari. I meant to go and play that one, but I didn't get a chance. Space War, which was also one of the biggest hits of the 1970s, and the first Vector game. Circus, which was one of the best-selling games for Exidy. Computer Spaceball, which was a Pong clone from Nutting Associates, where those were the guys that did Computer Space, or really it was Nolan Bush and Ted Dabney who did Computer Space, and they released it through Nutting. And after those two left, then they made their own Pong clone. Nutting made their own Pong clone, ripped off Ted and Nolan's Pong design. Let's see. I had a nice fiberglass cabinet. Fire Escape, I also didn't get a chance to play that one. Nice electromechanical game, CAX. I always loved that game. I have a Xenophobe cabinet, but I don't have a Xenophobe board or the joysticks. 720 Degrees by Atari Games. There was a couple of those at this part of the show. Then we had our Laserdisc aisle, where you had Space Ace, Dragon's Lair there. I'm assuming these probably had the Dexter upgrade, so it wasn't running actual Laserdisc, so it actually worked. Super Donkey Quixote. That game actually tanked Universal. Interstellar Laser Fantasy, which is a very rare game. Galaxy Ranger by Bally and Sega. I played that, and I'm sorry, it sucked. Mach 3, I played that too. It was okay, but this game did. That was a Laserdisc game that did pretty well back in the day. And it's taken a look back at some of the other pinballs that were in the area. That was a pretty popular area for the pinball machines. And going around to here, more pinball to your right, and on your left you had Atari, kind of an Atari row from the early 80s. You can see plenty of games that you probably recognize or have played, although Cloak and Dagger would probably be one of the rarer ones among those. Xevious is technically a Namco game. But Liberator, that's one of my personal favorites. That one's pretty rare. They only made 250 of those. And a Gauntlet, which I don't know if there was an issue with it, because I didn't see people playing it a lot. Tubin, which I have one of those, but it kind of works. Cyberball 2072 is a fun game. They didn't have a competition for it this year. When I was at CAX 2018, there was a Cyberball tournament, which was cool. I didn't participate, but still cool to see. Bump and Jump. A couple of non-Atari games in the mix there. So yeah, sometimes that just is what happened. You got some things, we're trying to have a theme, and then you just get some other brands in there like Midway or Williams. Arc Rivals. Freeze, this would be a prototype game from Atari Games running on Atari Jaguar hardware. Would have been released in 1996, but they decided not to. And then another game that, as far as I know, this is a prototype called Bio Freaks, which was trying to kind of be like Soul Calibur mixed with Mortal Kombat, I guess you could say. Hello, Poppin' Music, which I hadn't seen this version of Poppin' Music before. Looked like fun though, but it was always getting played, so I never got a chance. I didn't stand in line for it. But yeah, let's jump off to the next part. Now over to the left of the Laserdisc area was more pinball machines and lots of names that you might recognize, especially if you're into pinball. Of course, these would be 90s titles, more classic titles, including the Twilight Zone, which wasn't working most of the time that I saw it around, unfortunately, but the Theater of Magic, that was popular, as were a few of the others. The Gottlieb section, where you had Kroll and Reactor, although there was a missile command just sitting in the middle there. I did play some Reactor, although I'm not the best at it. I also played some Kroll, which I did okay at, but I should have made it to the end. For some reason, I managed to do better on the Atari 2600 version of that game. A Joust cocktail pinball machine, or table, I guess, that a lot of people didn't know about the existence of this one, but it is pretty rare. I can't remember if it was a prototype or not, but either way, I know it's very unusual to come across one of those. Pretty cool. Early example of battle pinball. And then you had some real classics, aside from 8-Ball Deluxe there, and just regular 8-Ball. You got into even more classic ones that may not have names that most people recognize. Of course, this section wasn't getting played quite as much as some of the others, just because some of these games were like from the 40s or the 50s, 60s and such, where you may not have some names that are well remembered by a lot of people who are still around. But if you don't mind playing something from ancient pinball history, then there you go. We got more Gottliebs over here with a couple of Cuberts and Mad Planets. And I guess Mad Planets did pretty okay for Gottlieb, and they were going to make a pinball machine about it. Ended up not doing so. A single lonely Hydro Thunder. Should at least have two, right? There was a Super Sprint to the right there, but it was never on. Prop Cycle, which I had some footage of, and then this one was always popular, being Magical Truck Adventure by Sega. And almost always had some teenagers playing this one, just making a lot of noise. I'm sure the people in the Marco Pinball booth over there were kind of annoyed by the constant thrashing on this one. But if you've never played that rare one, then this was a good opportunity to finally get it in there. And then in the Pinball Pete, I believe it was, or Pirate Pinball area, and Marco Pinball area, you had brand new stir machines, including John Wick. We did not have Keanu Reeves gracing us with his presence as he was down at San Diego Comic-Con, but he did play John Wick down there, as you might have seen on Stern's social media or YouTube channel here over the past day or so. But you did have Godzilla, including the new 70th Anniversary Edition, where I played this machine that's on the screen right now, and it actually ended up being the best game of pinball I've ever played, like ever. I went to play it, I wasn't trying to do anything special, but I ended up playing for something like 8 to 7 minutes, or 8 to 10 minutes, sorry, and I was just in the zone like I'd never been on any pinball machine before. And it was the first time that I played, at least this version. I mean, I played Godzilla before, but it had been a long time. It just felt kind of bad. I could feel people staring at the back of my head, like, why are you taking forever to just die already? And so maybe that affected my game, I don't know. But some other newer Sterns, including Ninja Turtles and Foo Fighters. And there's also Venom there to play. I mean, this section was always busy, and so you usually had to wait in line for a little bit to play something. And then there was also this nicety of having all the Jersey Jack pinball releases, except for, I guess not all of them. So no Wizard of Oz or The Hobbit or Dialed In. They're either just the newer ones, I should say. I played these at other trade shows, and so I guess we spent my time elsewhere. But still, if you wanted a chance to play some Jersey Jack, that's where you could do it. As well as the new Jaws by Stern with the topper. I guess I hadn't noticed that previously, that it had that edition there. And then the James Bond 007 limited edition is the one on the left there, but the one in the middle is a pro model, but it still have a topper. I tried to get footage like the actual dials were spinning inside of the physical ones, but the LED lighting and the high contrast didn't allow for that to work. Apologies on the focus. Sometimes it just did that briefly, and I'm guessing just never got hit with a lot of light and then back to dark. Just couldn't, my camera couldn't handle it. I forgot to turn off the autofocus feature, which I should have done. But on the other side of the convention center, you had even more pinball. There was lots and lots of pinball at this show. It seemed to be more than I recall in previous years, but there was Stargate and Terminator. Here's where you had a couple of Sega games, Shadow Dancer, Golden Axe, Blockout, I don't remember who made that one, Moon Cresta, Strike Force, which is actually Defender 3. Not a lot of people know about this one. I spent some time playing it. Data East's Karate Champ, which is always a fun game, and this is the player versus player version. Not sure how many single player versus dual player ones exist out there. And then Capcom's Strider, which I did play. The screen was a little blurry, out of focus. Rampage, used to own one of those. Narc with the blasphemous LCD inside of it, although it looked fine to me. Got Plus. And Carnival by Gremlin and Sega. Nice Berserk by Stern, which makes some new marquees that say Atari on them, since Atari owns that IP now. Gyrus, which I did play some of this, which is fun. Always a good time. Arkanoid Revenge of Doe. I just think of Homer Simpson's Doe when I see that. Pleiades, which I did play, which seems like a sequel to Phoenix. Time Pilot, which I didn't get a chance to play, but Wizard of War, I did play some of that. It's always a good time. Scramble I should have played, but I missed that, and playing Polaris. There were some rare ones over here in this section. Not necessarily elevator action. And Jungle King, although I guess the Jungle King version is sort of rare. Zookeeper and Kicks, Crazy Climber aren't necessarily rare either. But then you had Space Zap. This one doesn't show up super often, at least from what I see. Or this one, Pon Poco, which I played and, I don't know, it wasn't very fun to me. Didn't play Thief, that's one I should have tried. And then, of course, Tron. Sorry there. Frogger, definitely not rare, nor is Joust. Or Stargate, which was Defender 2. Over here was a surprise. I was not expecting to see Nidhogg 2 by DSM Arcade. I posted another video of this on my channel, and I also grabbed some extra footage of that, so may end up posting that soon. Wasn't really changed as far as I know for the arcade version, and so can play for a little bit, but it's fun. Definitely unique, as it's kind of a tug-of-war style sword fighting game. Definitely a different kind of concept for arcades. Bumblebear's Black Emperor and Killer Queen Arcade. Killer Queen, of course, always getting lots of play there, and they had some tournaments for it, which I think there might have been one going on right when I was filming here. But if not, it's kind of hard to tell. Beachhead 2000, I think I picked up a Beachhead 2001 cabinet once. Sarge by Brian Collin from Midway, and Two Tigers, which was very rare. Tried playing it a little bit, but felt a little cramped in that part, so I don't know, I didn't give it my all, and it also didn't seem to have the 8-track music going. Then here's one where I have to give a shout out to Alan One. These are the new creators of the Asteroids Recharge game that you see there, as well as Avian Nights. I could say they sponsored this video because they're the ones that flew me out there for CAX. I didn't have plans to go out to the show, but I've been, full disclosure, been just consulting with them, and helping them out with some things so they get that game, Asteroids game, right. And so thanks to them, big hat tip. I also have Super Sprint. My Atari, that one was always getting played too. And then back to the pinball machines where we kind of started at earlier, but I didn't focus on them too much. Oh, yeah, there was another Twilight Zone there. I didn't realize that. And to the left of that area that I just filmed, we had Cosmotrons, the deluxe version, in the fiberglass cabinet, although for some reason they left this dolly strapped to it the entire time. There was Red Baron by Atari, which I should have played. I've only played that in emulation before. Battlezone was never working, and neither was Space Fury. Solar Quest was, though. I should have played this. I played it before, and it's a lot of fun. It's a variation on Asteroids. It's kind of cool. Played Speed Freak. I did not care for that one. That was a vector beam game. There's Warrior, which is one of the first one-on-one fighting games, although it was a sword fighting game instead of a punching one. War of the Worlds by Cinematronics, which that's a prototype, was never released. But kind of an interesting game, but you could say needed some work. You also had this prototype of Boxing Bugs, which is another vector game that the Cinematronics ended up not releasing. Barrier, which was a total bomb. Armor Attack, which that one did well. And then for a non-vector game, Seawolf, that's one that I wanted to give a try, but I didn't stand in line for it. It's always getting played in Fast and Furious. But if we turn back around, you'll see that there was a reason those vector games were together, and that's because you had a vector area, except for iRobot, which was not a vector game. But the second game to use real-time 3D graphics. Cube Quest would be the first, but you had The Adventures of Major Havoc: The Promised End, which is the updated ROMs that allow you to play the full completed game as originally promised. A couple of Tempests, or a few Tempests, sorry. 3 of them, one of them not working. Quantum, which I did play this a few times, and I'm starting to get decent at it. That one's, it's quirky and weird, but it's fun. Black Widow, Atari's dual-stick vector shooter that is often forgotten about. Gravatar, Tough as Nails, Star Trek Upright. I did play a sit-down Captain's Edition version of that one. I like that one better. But for Star Trek versus Star Wars, there you go. They were sitting right next to each other in their upright forms. And there's more than one Star Wars to enjoy. And Asteroids Deluxe and Original Asteroids, Lunar Lander, those 3 being Atari, Space Duel, which is basically Asteroids 3. Designed by Owen Rubin, who I did talk with on the first day of the show. He was there. We talked a bit. It was fun. Marble Madness 2, I did get more footage of this one in action, and so this version here had restored the trackball controls to it, as opposed to when this was originally tested out there in like 91, I think it was. It had joysticks. Teeter Torture. This is one that I kept meaning to go and play, but every time I wanted to play it again, it was being played by somebody. I should have stuck around and waited my turn. Street Fighter 2, the new Challengers. And right behind that was another Street Fighter version. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was. A couple of Smash TVs in different cabinets. That one looking like the Mortal Kombat cabinet. And then Total Carnage, which I should have played that one because I haven't played it before, I realize. Assault by Namco and Atari Games, Rolling Thunder, Atari Games version. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which I did play. It's okay, but not great. The original Marble Madness, and Peter Pack-Rat, which I also gave a couple of chances to, as I did Roadrunner. Road Blasters, used to own one of those back in the day. And these would all be Atari games right now. Paperboy. I'm surprised I didn't see more people playing this one, because they always talk about it. Mousetrap, a Pac-Man clone by Exidy, and Venture. I played this one, got to the 3rd area, but then I died for it fairly quickly. Hard Hat, which is another maze game, not necessarily a Pac-Man clone by Exidy, but just something within the genre, I suppose, as was Pepper 2, although Pepper 2 was kind of an Amador game, Amador clone. Timber and Tapper, another I didn't play Tapper. That's another one that you should play on the real thing when you can. Track and Field, Circus Charlie, Journey. This is Congo Bongo. It was working when I did the setup video, but it wasn't working the rest of the show. I'm not sure why. There wasn't any sound when I tried it. But there was Outrun and Hunchback by Century Electronics. Tankum, which I didn't play. Zizix, or however the heck you say that, stupid one. They picked that name because they read something about people identifying or remembering things with Z in them, and so they decided, let's put a bunch of Z's in it, and then people will remember this game, but then it's unpronounceable, so nobody's going to remember it other than it has a stupid name. Oh yeah, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Here's a prototype game, or not a prototype, but a rare one, Chicken Shift. Make sure I enunciate that clearly. But here's a prototype game from Atari Games called Danger Express, which I did film this. It's weird, I can see why it didn't end up getting released, because it wasn't terribly good. Guitar Hero Arcade, and then from here on out you have a bunch of pinball machines. There's 2 of Chicago Gaming's pins, and then some classics. And after the classics we get to a row of American pinball machines, including Houdini, Legends of Valhalla, Hot Wheels, Galactic Tank Force, and Barry's Barbecue Challenge, which Jay Debbie, an Arcade Heroes regular reader and tipster, won the competition that they were holding for that. And then here's something I forgot about that we reported on, was Funhouse, the remake of Funhouse by Pedretti Pinball. And so this was there in both the classic and the limited edition. Here's the limited edition, which has the LED lights in Rudy's head, which is really, really cool. And so I have some more footage of this one. But if you're a member to the channel, you already got to see some of that. And then some other pinball machines. But that was not all from CAX, so let's see what else was around. Okay, so over back near the entrance, you have this area where on one side were a bunch of Atari video games, and on the other side were a bunch of newer or somewhat newer pinball machines, like Godzilla would be a 90s one, but then you had 2013 Star Trek and what was that, 2022 Mandalorian, and some kind of a hodgepodge of newer ones. The Big Lebowski, that's one I would have liked to have played because I've never seen that one out in the wild. Circus Voltaire was there, always a colorful machine to check out. Firepower. There was a panel on Atari pinballs, and I'll be showing a bunch of Atari pinballs here soon. But I missed out on that one. I had Steve Ritchie calling in. He wasn't able to attend in person as I think he had hoped to. Here's one of the more controversial games, Chiller. It's the grotesque torture game where you shoot at helpless prisoners in chains, as well as some other creatures around. Not every screen is that sort of thing, but they changed it on the second day, so I don't know if somebody complained or what. Cheyenne, which was a kind of a sequel to Laxity's Crossbow. Wanted to play that one just to give it a chance. Same with Turkey Shoot. Never actually had a chance to play a Turkey Shoot in person. And more jousting, including Joust 2. Warren Davis was there. I talked with him. I bought his book, Creating Cubert, and read most of it on the plane. It was a fantastic read so far. He worked on Joust 2. Some Sinistar. Oh, I hadn't noticed somebody giving a peace sign there. Inferno, that one's a prototype from Midway, never released. I don't know how many boards of it exist out there. I did play it. I mean, it seemed complete. But I guess I could see why it didn't do super well. But let's go to the next room. So CAX always has a second room where they fill it up with more vendors and games. Just helps, I guess, expand it out. But part of this room, where near the front, where there are these 2 new pinball machines, and I spoke with the creator. His name's Joel Kaiser. So this one, Boys Night Out Pinball, is based on an indie film that he made a few years back. And then there's Doggy Tales, which is kind of a love letter to his dog. And so didn't focus much on them in this video, but again, I'll have other videos and more information on that, so check back. But over here we had Vapor TRX from Atari Games and Cruisin' Exotica. Pole position with a new sign on top, soon being backlit. Cockpit for Star Wars, which I did get to play and did decently at. Here's that aforementioned Star Trek Captain's Chair machine, which I think this one controls a lot better than the upright version. I don't know what it is, but just the layout just works better for me. The Solar Assault Revised Edition is kind of like Konami's answer to Star Fox, but using the Gradius, if you want to call it that, whatever, IP. Silent Scope EX, which I've never seen a lot of EXs out there. It's usually Silent Scope 2 that you come across, but still nice to see the latest editions of those games. Pac-Man Battle Royale, of course, and then this is a rare one, Professor Pac-Man. They did not make many of these. They wanted to. They thought it would be the next big thing, but it was a giant flop. I think something like 300-400 of them were made. And then Pac-Land, which, I don't know. For me, I never really cared about Pac-Land. A modified version of Pac-Man that lets you play level 255 to see what happens after the end. Crazy Otto, the original Miss Pac-Man, although it had the Miss Pac-Man marquee. Junior Pac-Man to play the baby Pac-Man, and then the somewhat mixed Pac-Mania. Not everybody cares for that one. Pac-Man and Super Pac-Man. Pretty common games. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which, as I was reading in there, I didn't realize how Warren Davis, the creator of Qbert, had quite a role to play in that game. Samurai Showdown, I think the first one, but it might have been 3. Caveman Ninja, I did get some footage of playing this one. I hadn't played it before. This one, I gotta let that resolve. Variety game. He's shooting, and there's another word there that I didn't catch, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, even though I just saw it. Bosconian, and more Miss Pac-Man. Over here, you start to get some cabaret models and other miniaturized arcade machines, or some of those were arcade one-ups. I didn't look super close at them. An Aztarak. God, I should have played that one. I'm kicking myself. Alright, it's like near the end of the show, I was like thinking, there's got to be some stuff I missed, but then I couldn't remember what it was that I saw, and I wanted to go back to. And Aztarak is one of those games. That one's super, super rare. Now here's your cabarets for like Missile Command and Asteroids Deluxe, Battle Zone. But right next to this one was a rarity. I should have spent more time on this one as a CAX. I can't remember hearing that there was a dedicated version of CAX, but there you go. Thunderblade, which I sucked at. Frogger, and then some of the miniature arcades, including Tetris and Donkey Kong and Miss Pac-Man. Next to a larger Donkey Kong. It was weird when I saw somebody playing the small Donkey Kong and ignoring the larger one next to it. Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong 3 and Donkey Kong Jr. Punch-Out. The original Punch-Out, which was not like the NES version. This one was better, I would say. Quite a bit better. Burger Time, not the only Burger Time around. Speedrun Ruler, a game by Capcom that many people probably don't remember. Primal Rage. NBA Jam was always a popular draw. And if you want to compare that to the new NBA Superstars, which I saw again at Dave & Buster's. Regular R-Type. I haven't seen like R-Type 2 or R-Type Leo at these shows. More Tetris. Night Stalker. This is a rare one from Bally Santa. And it was a combination driving light gun game. And I saw a couple of kids playing this where one was doing the driving, the other one was doing the light gun shooting. Terminator Salvation. So this was working on Saturday, but on Sunday it was off. So I don't know if they had a problem or they just didn't want it on. I don't know. Area 51 Maximum Force Combo Machine next to a Point Blank 2, a Police Trainer. I'm trying to remember what this other one was next to that. Oh, the Sega Trophy Hunter. That's right. Simpsons and Ninja Tweedles. Oh, I think they're both regular turtles, not Turtles in Time. This is where you started to get to Japanese candy cabs. Some of these games I should know. It's like this one I think is Rumblefish. or no, sorry, Capcom versus SNK 2. Nightmare in the Dark. That's another one that I wanted to play that I didn't get a chance to. And all these Japanese game cabinets, I believe, were provided by Game Saru, which I believe is an arcade in California or an importer of arcade machines. And that's where they also had some X Arcadias. And this X Arcadia had Dodonpachi True Death Exa label, but it also had like Batsuga and Exa label and a couple of other shoot 'em ups on there. I saw a lot of people playing Blazing Chrome, and this one had Dynamite Bomb on it, which seemed to be getting a bit of attention. Although I did notice a lot of people didn't seem to know that you could, how to back out, so that you could play the other games. Like at the moment when I filmed this one, it had Samurai Showdown 5, but I went back into the menu and put up Axel City 2 afterwards so that I could try out the release version of that game. And then here's some Versus City cabinets, which were usually getting played. I guess not so much when I walked by, but most of the time when I did, there was always two people playing head-to-head against each other on Street Fighter or whatever else. It was Street Fighter 3. That one was down, although I think that one got fixed and came back up later on. And sometimes when you're filming it, something doesn't work, and then later it was fine. Some Dark Stalkers. It's one that I know I've come across it in the past. I just haven't played it much. Dolphin Blue. I was a little surprised to see that one, although I remember later on it was like locked up or something. And I could not remember the name of that fighter that beat him up. That was right there, and it's like on the tip of my tongue, but I keep forgetting if it was like Sengoku or if it was another one. And this one was a surprise. This was Demon Front, a Metal Slug clone from IGS, and so it seemed like people were into that. I'm surprised I didn't see Metal Slug itself there. Don't know why that is. And then you get a clone. Had some Raiden DX, I think it was. But man, didn't always see what the marquees were for some of those. The Sailor Moon beat 'em up games, some Tetris Grandmaster Challenge. That one seemed to be popular-ish. An ad for Game Saru. This is a platformer where it's like, that's another one where it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember what it was called exactly. Mortal Kombat 2, then some, I think that was PGA Tournament Golf. And then on the outskirts, you had a whack-a-mole machine and a redemption game where you were throwing balls into these trash cans where it would have characters inside of them. But then this is where we get into some Atari Pinball. And so right there was a Pipeline next to a Space Raiders. Pipeline was a prototype game, but it turns out it was actually a clone of Space Raiders, just different art. Airborne Avenger, Time 2000, Middle Earth. I mean, this show had every single Atari pinball machine ever worked on or created. Atarians was off when I filmed this, but it was later on. Here's Superman. I know there's some stories about the development of this that drove some of the people working on it crazy. Hercules, one of the largest pinball machines ever made. You use a cue ball. Just wish that the flippers were more powerful. Then we get into more prototypes. Here's the Roadrunner pinball machine that was never released. And that's another one that every time when I would come by it, it wasn't always on. And I meant to get back to it to try it out when it was. Atari Pinball, Neutron Star, and then 4x4. Although a lot of people don't know this, but 4x4 started out as E.T. Pinball. And that the game got canceled soon enough after the layout got started. So I don't know that there's any artwork that exists for it. But as I played this, and what was surprising is there was no pinball plunger. They just automatically started launching balls onto the playfield, which was a little strange. And the balls would also get stuck on the drop target part, so it obviously needed some polishing before release, but they never released it anyways. It would have been later on, like 83. And then you had the cocktail arcade area, and I guess I should have spent a little bit more time looking over those. I saw a Star Castle, Cocktail, the Warlords 4-player. There was a Crystal Castles, and more. But that pretty much covers what was at CAX. Anyways, that's it for CAX 2024. I hope you enjoyed this sort of guided tour. And if you have more questions about what was there, make a comment below, ask a question. This is a Seaberg Rail Light, very rare machine there, and Armadillo Racing. But I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next video, and that will probably be from CAX.